The game never stops, and neither do we. It's another edition of the Morning Espresso on the SDH Network, brought to you by Oglethorpe University, Atlanta's premier undergraduate learning experience and soccer powerhouse. I'm Jason Longshore, and we've got breaking news. It's official. Tata Martino is back as the Atlanta United manager. He was part of the group that helped define this club's identity, from naming the first ever lineup to winning the first ever trophy. He comes back to Atlanta in a reunion that I don't know if I expected would ever happen. I mean, you never say never, but you just don't know if the stars align for these sorts of things to happen. It has for soccer in the city of Atlanta. It's a full circle moment. We're diving into everything that it means right now on SDH AM. If you're listening to this live as it posts, you'll be able to check that podcast and the video, whether you want to go to your favorite podcatcher, to YouTube, to Twitch, and you can watch it on demand. Nino Torres, Nico Moreno, the usual cast of characters will all be on to talk about this, because it's a big deal. What does it mean on the field? What does it mean in terms of what this roster looks like as Tata Martino and Chris Henderson are reunited as well? They worked together in Miami over the past few seasons. What does it mean in the locker room? What does it mean across the fan base? What does it mean across the board in MLS? Look, we're also going to get into Josef Martínez and where things stand for him right now, because another possible reunion that nobody thought might happen. That maybe it's at least a possibility at this point. Mauricio Pochettino spoke to the international media about the game in the U.S. We've got all kinds of other things as well. Grab your cup. It's time for the Morning Espresso. Let's start, as I already kind of dove into, on Tata Martino. He has been officially announced as the Atlanta United manager. We'll dig into all of that over the next, I would say 24 hours, but it will probably be the next few months until this team takes the field in MLS play. It's hard to capture what this will mean because there is a lot of unknown. There was a lot of unknown when Tata Martino came to Atlanta in 2016. There wasn't a team. They never played a match. There was no blueprint. He was very involved in helping to build a team, build a style of play, build a culture, all the things on the field, along with the support from the front office. It worked. It took 2 seasons. They won MLS Cup in 2018, one of the best years in MLS history. Scored 70 goals in each season. And the 2018 MLS Cup is a watershed moment, not just for soccer in Atlanta, but also for Major League Soccer. Now, he returns to a very different league and a different club, a club that has played a whole lot of games since he left, a club that has struggled in recent years, a league that's grown up fast. He saw it in Miami, but in a very different situation with Lionel Messi, with Luis Suarez, with all of the superstars like Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets. Very different thing there. He left Miami after Atlanta knocked them out of the postseason last year. He said he needed to be away for a short period of time. His name has popped up. We talked about it before with LAFC. His name has popped up with every major job in Argentina as well. That's typical. He's very well respected, but this is a league that's in a very different place than when he came here originally. And it's hard to compare his Miami time because of the presence of Messi. So the spending rules are different. You're not wide open like you were in 2016 right now. The player movement, you've got players under contract. You've got to, if you want to move some of them, you've got to find somebody to take them. You've got to find trades. You do have a couple of buyouts. It's going to be fascinating. And Tata and Chris Henderson have worked together. So Chris knows what kinds of players Tata is going to respond to. I don't know where Tata Martino's direct relationships are with players in South America, which is what we saw here. It's what we saw in Miami. It's what you would expect. He hasn't worked in South America in a long time. He's obviously got his connections, and he's obviously knows people, and his name still carries weight. But it's not a direct oh, he did this in 2016, so he can do this in 2025 going into 2026. I don't think you can look at it that way because everything is different now. It's going to be fascinating. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. Now, the other thing is to keep in mind, this is likely going to be a short-term thing. That's just Tata's way. He's never stayed long anywhere. He was at Barcelona for one season. His time with Newell's Old Boys and clubs in Paraguay was very short-natured. With the Argentine national team, it was 2 Copa Americas back-to-back years. In Miami, it was a year and a half. He has had good impacts in places, but in short bursts. So this is a fascinating one across the board, and we've talked about that balance between philosophy and stability and I don't want to say desperation in a way that you can't ever get it right if it doesn't happen immediately. But yeah, with a short-term nature of this, there's going to be an extra pressure to win quickly because he's just not going to be here very long. So that's a lot to set the table for Tata Martino walking back into Atlanta. It's a chance to rediscover what this club can look like. It's a chance to re-engage, and it's a chance to not quite start fresh, but maybe get that nostalgia, emotional boost to a reset of sorts. How quickly can this roster come together in the way that he wants? Who might be part of that? Fascinated to see what that turns into. And one name that now is available, or will be available, it sounds like, according to reports, is Josef Martínez. He's 32 right now. He is going to part ways with the San Jose Earthquakes, according to reports, after scoring 14 goals this past season, his best total since that devastating knee injury in Nashville in 2020. What kind of role is he going to have in Atlanta? He's going to be 33, and this is also a very hypothetical of what kind of role is he going to have in Atlanta. He's got to sign here first. And is that going to work? Is that going to make sense? Because Josef did not leave under the best of terms. I think the club handled it very well, but there was friction at that point. Now, a lot of the people that were involved at that time are no longer here. Tata Martino can help smooth things over if he wants to bring Josef Martínez back. What could he be in this team if you do want to bring him back? Can he be a veteran voice? He really wasn't doing that well before he left. He is older now, and I think he's maybe in a little more understanding of what he is at 32, 33 years old, and with his knee being what it was. It was great to see him back looking like himself this year, or at least resembling himself, because the seasons after the knee injury, when he came back and he had follow-up procedures, it was tough to see what he would turn into and how long he could go. You feel a little bit better about that after a good season in San Jose. You know, is this a leadership kind of situation where he can come in and be that? Is this a reunion with Miguel Almiron potentially? Is it a farewell tour? Like, you know, what is this? If it happens, because that's still an if. There are decisions to make on this roster and what this would go. I think a lot of people have the expectation that it will happen with the news out of San Jose. I don't know if it's a slam dunk easy thing to just say it's going to happen. It's a fascinating time right now for soccer in Atlanta. Let's move on to the U.S. men's national team on this edition of the Morning Espresso. Mauricio Pochettino spoke to the BBC about his role, about where things stand in the U.S. men's national team program. He did talk about wanting to go back to the Premier League at some point in his career. The thing that jumped out to me, though, was he said in a quote, "The motivation is massive. Sometimes you feel that people don't understand too much. You find some coaches that say, oh, you need to know the culture of the American player. I say, no, I know the most important thing, the culture of football and soccer. We need to translate the culture of football to the American player." I agree with Pochettino in that. I think it's always been the other way around. And yes, from a cultural perspective, you need to understand some aspects of what makes an American player tick. But also, Pochettino's job is to recognize that, to understand that, and then teach the player about what's needed to win. I think so often we fully focus it the other way of, oh, you have to know the American player. And it's much more of, yes, and then you have to progress that. And that's a big thing. I'd love for him to speak more to the media. I'd love for people to listen to him more. I think there was a time over these last few windows where people were not listening to what Mauricio Pochettino was actually saying. They were, I think, translating it the way that they wanted. They were interpreting it the way that they wanted. They were maybe putting words in his mouth at times, putting things, their own narratives, their own agendas on top of what he was saying. This is a guy who knows the game. This is a guy who feels the game. This is a guy who gets the game. And this is a guy who has a lot to give to soccer in the United States. And just like Tata Martino in Atlanta, it's probably not going to be a very long-term sort of situation for Pochettino. I'd be surprised if he is here in 2027. So soak it up while he's here. And please listen to what he is saying. Don't put your agenda on top of it. Listen. He gets it. He can help. He can help grow the game here. It's very important. He's seeing progress. I agree with him. But let's listen to what he's got to say rather than projecting things onto it. Segment 4, global headlines all around the world on this edition of the Morning Espresso. Hansi Flick, he's talking about identity. He's talking about game model, and he's standing firm despite defensive issues in the 3-3 draw with Club Brugge. He says this is how we're going to play, and I'm glad that he's saying it. Again, I hope people are listening, because you can't just flip a switch and say, oh, yeah, we're going to drop our defensive line 27 yards just because. No. You can't do that. You have to be better at what you do, and ultimately you'll be defined by that. And I love coaches who say, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to bring why you hired me to the table, and I believe in it being successful. Because if the coach doesn't believe, the players can't believe. I love what Hansi Flick said. Yes, they need to be better defensively. Yes, they need to be better across the board. This is a very good Barcelona team. They can't have 3-3 draws against Club Brugge on a regular basis. They need to learn from this and move on. But you're not going to do that by not being yourself and going away from your identity. Achraf Hakimi, he's going to miss up to 6 weeks for PSG after a severe ankle sprain in that tackle from Luis Diaz. It looked like it could have been worse. I'm glad it's not. He might be back for the African Cup of Nations here in a little over a month's time. Ousmane Dembélé and Nuno Mendes are also sidelined for PSG, who are just up against it with injuries right now. In Italy, Milan and Inter, they have officially purchased the San Siro, clearing the way for a new joint 71,500-seat stadium that will anchor the club's visions ahead of Euro 2032. In South America, Independiente Rivadavia, they win their first ever Copa Argentina, their first ever major trophy. They beat Argentinos Juniors in a penalty shootout, a massive moment for the club. We'll have more on them in our upcoming Roots podcast. In the women's game, the NWSL closed its 2025 season averaging 10,600 fans per match. Just a little bit down from last year. Don't get hung up on 5% differences either way. It's fine. Portland Thorns led the league in attendance with more than 18,000 per game. Monarch Collective, it's a women's sports investment fund backed by Melinda French Gates. They have purchased a 38% stake in FC Victoria Berlin Women, expanding their influence further into Europe. Let's move on to the U17 World Cup. Cavan Sullivan, he made his debut, one to remember. It's a huge win for the US U17s to start the U17 World Cup. He came off the bench, scored in the 79th minute to beat Burkina Faso 1-0. He's just 15 years old. He's continuing to build momentum as one of the brightest prospects in U.S. soccer. Atlanta United's Cooper Sanchez was involved in the build-up. He started the match. Cooper and Cavan and the rest of the U.S. U17s will play Tajikistan next on Saturday morning. It's a 9:45 a.m. kick. You can watch it on FS2, Telemundo, and on the Peacock app. So that does it for this edition of the Morning Espresso, with a return that no one expected a few years ago, maybe another return that no one expected a few years ago. Mauricio Pochettino, Hansi Flick talking about identity, the next wave of American talent showing well at the World Cup. Feels like past, present, future, all converging right now. Very, very cool to see. And look, in this game and on the SDH network, the story never, ever, ever stops. Every pass, every voice, every dream connect here on the SDH network. I'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Morning Espresso. Also, late night tonight after the NFL game on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app, I'll be with Noel White and Miles Williams on The Intersection. We talk soccer, we talk basketball, we talk football, we talk sports, we talk fashion, we talk music. It goes a million different places, but it's a really fun show. Please check it out if you get a chance. That will be probably starting around 11:30, and we'll take you up to 1 a.m. You can always catch that as a podcast as well on the Odyssey app. You can catch it under the Weekend Mornings tag for podcasts on the Odyssey app or at 929thegame.com. We are the spinoff to the Weekend Morning Show. We'll have our own section here very, very soon. With the Intersection, you can check out Atlanta Soccer Tonight there as well on the Off the Woodwork section of podcasts. And I got a feeling there's going to be some more content on Off the Woodwork as the day goes on. So y'all have a good Thursday. I'll be back on Friday. See ya. Adios, everybody. Mucha plata, y'all.